Everything you need to get set for investing in the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange this week, straight from the city of Dar es Salaam. Good morning, everyone. This is A Trader DSE Weekly Update. We appreciate your tuning in. We really do. Now let's get straight into it.
Alright, let us move on to the most liquid shares. Now, these are shares of companies listed on the DSE which were bought and sold the most last week. They are liquid as they're easy to convert to cash, that is to buy and sell, and so are transacted a lot in the market. The most liquid shares as of last week are as follows. At number 1, we have Vodacom Tanzania accounting for 48% of the total volume traded for the week, followed by CRDB Bank accounting for 43% of the total volume traded during the week, and lastly we have National Investment Company Limited accounting for 3% of the total volume traded for the week. Now, concerning Voda being amongst the most traded stock last week, they were around 1.3 million of its shares traded on Friday in the block trade pre-arranged market board, and this happens when an entity purchases shares worth more than 200 million Tanzanian shillings of a company at a pre-arranged price or a negotiated price, which is generally lower than the price at the market. Now, the company had released its preliminary consolidated financial results for the year ended 31st March 2022 on the same day. Now, let's take a look at some of the metrics which investors would be most interested in concerning the company. For the year 2022, the mobile network incurred a net loss of 20.2 billion Tanzanian shillings, and it mentioned COVID-19 impacts and uncertainties as well as challenging business conditions as the reasons for these losses. Their profit after tax for the past 5 years averaged around 51.26 billion Tanzanian shillings, which gives us an average profit margin of around 5.2%. And this has resulted in the company not declaring any dividend payments to shareholders for the year ended 2022. The company has a dividend policy of paying out at least 50% of its net profit after tax as dividends to shareholders. So this decision is in line with their policy. The average dividend for the past 5 years averaged around 10.43 Tanzanian shillings per share. Now, moving on to the weekly company price changes, where in this section we show the listed companies with price changes according to the sector they belong in. So starting off with the banking, finance and investment sector. We'll notice that NMB has been a top gainer in this section. Stay tuned for company news where we shed some light on why this could be. Now, moving on to company news. Now, in company news this week, Vodacom Tanzania's managing director, Mr. Sitholizwe Mdalose, will be resigning effectively as of June 2022. Mr. Mdalose held this position since August 2021 and he is stepping down to become the new managing director of Vodacom Tanzania effectively as of July 2022. The Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange has also released the 2021 annual report on the Friday 13th, 2022, and here are some of the highlights. The directors for 2021 are proposing a final dividend of 100.67 shillings per share, and the company got a profit after tax of 3.997 billion Tanzanian shillings for the year. This is to be approved by the shareholders of the DSE in their annual general meeting, which is on the 18th of May, Wednesday, in offices located in Kambarage House and online through Zoom video conferencing at 9:30 a.m. Finally, we have NMB Bank that has also released their notice for their annual general meeting to be held on the 3rd June 2022 on Friday at Julius Nyerere International Convention Center in Dar es Salaam. It is important to note that directors propose a dividend of 193 Tanzanian shillings per share out of 2021's profit after taxes. Here we see the timelines where the shareholders can buy shares of NMB and will receive this dividend if they bought them before the 1st of June 2022. Now, moving on to treasury bond trading. As you can see from the tables, the 20-year treasury bond were traded at premium prices, especially the ones with the old coupon rates of 15.49%, the higher ones. The treasury bonds are considered to have been transacted at premium prices once they've been bought at a price higher than 100 Tanzanian shillings per unit. This is because when these bonds mature, the government pays the lender back 100 Tanzanian shillings for every unit bond, meaning that if you had bought them for more than 100 Tanzanian shillings, you will have bought them at a loss or an expensive price. The purchase of these bonds at these prices above in turn led to these yield trends. These yield trends are profits that bondholders get if they bought these bonds at certain market prices. The lower the price you buy a bond for, the higher the yield the bondholder gets, and vice versa. Now, the results for the auction of the 25-year Treasury bond held on Wednesday, 11th May 2022 were as follows. It was oversubscribed by 38.91 billion Tanzanian shillings. Being oversubscribed means that investors came forth with way more money than the government needed, and this was largely because the investors in the DSE preferred to invest in longer-term Treasury bonds which offer higher interest rates such as the 25-year one. The minimum price to go through was 100. This is a par value, which means at face value. This also means that investors were not willing to pay more nor willing to pay less than the bond's face value, which is 100. This means that when the bond matures on the 25th year, these investors will get exactly the same amount they had invested with. Now over here we can see the two upcoming Treasury bond auctions for the rest of the government financial year 2021-2022. And with that said, thank you for choosing A-Traders, your partner to financial freedom. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms to keep you updated. Have a great week ahead and karibuni sana.